Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 176th episode of Film Seizure. I am Geoff Arbuckle. To my right,
I'm Jason. I'm Jason Oliver.
And to my left,
I'm Chuck Moore. I'm projecting.
Yes.
I'm projecting. Sorry.
Yes. All right. Those were the stage notes, not
Yep.
the
I'm
actual
not
script.
supposed to say that.
Right, yeah.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah. Okay. So, hey, we've got another suggestion. You know, our suggestion box opens up every now and then, and it looks to be pollinated by our listeners' ideas
Yeah.
and suggestions. And that's what happened this month. We started with The Beast, aka The Beast of War. We then my dad was like, that one movie that Jason liked as a kid means dick to him, so let's watch this other movie that is better, in The Cincinnati Kid. And then another movie that even before that my dad it's like, hey, have you watched this? And we probably walked over to Blockbuster, picked it up that very day, is this week's movie, and that is 1977's Slapshot.
Slapshot. It's a hockey movie.
Yep.
It is a hockey movie.
Slapshot.
So I have a weird thing real quick about this movie because it
This is where
actually
he's going to tell the story.
no, it connects to Cincinnati Kid by way of Hal Ashby. Hal Ashby edited The Cincinnati Kid, and he directed a movie called Coming Home in 1978.
I know that's a big time movie.
Yeah, which was written by Nancy Dowd, who wrote Slapshot, and she won the Academy Award for her screenplay for Coming Home. So Slapshot was written by an Academy Award winner.
And directed by one too.
And directed by one as well.
And then Paul Newman won one later for The Color of Puck.
Yeah.
Because he kind of looks a little bit like Tom Cruise in this movie.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right.
Also, anyway.
I'll allow it.
Yeah, all right. So Slapshot. By the way, how did any of that connect to Kevin Bacon?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
Fuck, I don't care. It's probably like 1 degree.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
George Roy Hill, probably.
Probably.
Anyway, so all right, so 1977 Slapshot, which in the mid 90s or so was probably when my dad was like, hey, have you seen this movie? It was something that he kind of remembered really liking when, this would have been the year. This came out 2 weeks after I was born.
Yeah.
So
2 weeks after I was born.
A little over 2 weeks after you were born, yes.
So about 2 years before I was born, guys.
Pretty much. Which also would be about 44 and a half years ago.
Yes.
Okay. So so this was just kind of one where it's like, this is one I thought was pretty funny. Maybe we should watch it sometime. So, okay. Walked over to the Blockbuster. It was there. Watched it. And then a few years later, in the late 90s, this movie got super popular again. I don't know if you guys remember.
I mean, I'm from upstate New York. It was huge.
Well, yeah, because you got a lot of hockey.
Yeah.
A lot of hockey goons up there, probably.
Everybody loves
I don't really remember that, but I knew of this movie, and I have seen this movie, but I didn't remember it very well.
No.
It's been a very long time since I've seen this movie.
It's probably been at least 20 years since I've seen it, but like there were two things that I remember. One, the Hansons.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what everybody remembers, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
So much so they built an entire couple of sequels around them.
Yes.
20 years after this movie was
made.
And then also I remember the very end with the striptease that happened.
See, I didn't remember that at all.
Yeah, I remember that. So this was a thing that like I was working at the video store in the late 90s. And I remember, do you remember when like 20th Century Fox like was like re-releasing a bunch of, or no, Universal. Universal was releasing a bunch of older movies. 20th Century Fox was too, but they would like put like these. There was just a bunch of catalog stuff that they would just throw out for like, $7.99, $8.99 a movie or something like that. And it was like mostly movies that probably had a lot of cable life, but hadn't really had like a release in a while. And this was one of those ones that just kind of came back probably around 97 for like its 20th anniversary or something. And then all of a sudden everybody had seen this movie.
Right.
And then it was like, and then I had to be that asshole who was like, oh yeah, I saw that a few years ago before it got popular. Yeah. And then they made sequels with like Stephen Baldwin and the Hanson brothers.
Yeah, so I have those up now. The Slapshot 2 Breaking the Ice was 2002 with Stephen Baldwin and Gary Busey.
Yoinks.
And then 2008 Slapshot 3 The Junior League came out. Both of these movies, yes, were very much built around the Hanson brothers. No one else from the movies from the original was in either sequel.
I was wondering if the Mighty Ducks might have led to a resurgence of this movie, just interest in hockey movies, but that was
possibly
92. So
yeah,
the Flying V.
Here's the thing about hockey. I mean, of course, Indiana always had a minor league team.
Leslie Nielsen is in Slapshot 3. Huh.
Oof. That was not during some good times for.
No, definitely. He's last build too, so he's probably just a little cameo.
Yikes!
But they put him on the box with,
of course,
and Leslie Nielsen,
of course. But yeah, like hockey was never that popular here in Indiana. This is a basketball and then eventually a football state. Mm-hmm. But we always had like. There was always this kind of fascination with hockey, mainly because for the longest time, if I'm not mistaken, the NHL had a rule where it's like, if you don't have a market team, you don't get the games, period. And there was no hockey on TV when I was a kid.
I wouldn't be aware of that.
Yeah.
Because
you had a market.
There was always a market team.
Yep. So, yeah, it's like in Indiana, at least until sometime in the 90s, I think it changed. But like, I think the only games we ever got were the Stanley Cup Finals.
Right.
So like, but it's like I knew who Wayne Gretzky was.
Right.
It's like I
Brett
knew
Hull.
that between Edmonton and Boston, they were the top teams in the 80s, or at least in that part of the 80s when we didn't have any access to it. I knew I liked the Canucks, and I knew I liked Blades of Steel on the NES.
Yeah, there you go. See, I grew up in West Virginia. We didn't give one fuck about hockey, and nobody cared about hockey.
That's kind of weird because West Virginia is a little bit up there.
Well, up in the Panhandle, like in the not the crooked Panhandle, but the straight Panhandle, like where Morgantown is. Yeah, a lot of Penguins fans.
Okay,
like Pens are real big up there, but down in Charleston, not so much. We didn't really follow hockey at all. At least my sports loving friends didn't. I mean, it was baseball, football.
Hockey is my absolute favorite sport to watch when I don't have a rooting interest. Like, I can watch any hockey. Like, if hockey's on, I'm like, I'm happy. I'll watch hockey. I'm not the same with baseball. I'm not the same with football or basketball. I will watch the major games, stuff like that. And if the Yankees are on, that like supersedes even hockey.
Sure.
But hockey's just fun. I love hockey.
I will say that I was if I had to have picked a NHL team that I was a fan of, air quotes, when I lived in West Virginia, it would have been the Penguins.
Yeah.
And that was around the time where like Lemieux was big. Right?
Oh, sure.
Well, yeah.
Oh, I knew that. Yeah. It was one of those things where it's like, it was just kind of this mystical sport. Because, like, the funny thing is like, even the colleges here, except for Notre Dame, they don't have a hockey team. Like, look at the Big Ten roster, and you'll see some weird fucking teams in the Big Ten for hocky.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
it's totally different. Yeah.
It's a rich kid's sport, too, because the entry point is very expensive.
Yeah. So that brings up another thing, because there was a junior hockey team in Indianapolis.
Wayne Gretzky played there.
Yep.
Well, yeah. I mean, like when I was like, I knew kids in high school who played, and they were like, it's like it was a traveling team, but it's like it wasn't like the kids who, well, let's put it this way, they didn't play any other sports, and like the poor kids like tried out for the football team or the baseball team. It's like it seemed like all of the richer kids, but not necessarily the popular rich kids, were either cross country runners or they were on the hockey traveling team.
Yeah.
But yeah, still, it was like just this mystical sport to me.
Yep.
It's like I literally knew maybe 3 things about hockey, like outside of individual players and individual teams. Like I knew icing was a thing that I never would understand and still don't. 2, Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
And 3, fights.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of fights.
Yeah.
Like I play Blades of Steel on Nintendo. I'm starting to fucking fight.
Yeah.
And I'm going to punch a dude out.
I loved Blades of Steel.
Well, that era, the 80s, I mean, every team had, for example, you had your Wayne Gretzky. You had to have guys around him who could fight because Wayne Gretzky's not going to fight, but everyone else is going to mess with him.
Yeah.
Hit him when they shouldn't, do this and do that. So there are all sorts of enforcers.
Right. You got your goons.
In the 70s and 80s, yeah. It's not so much like that anymore. There's still fights in hockey, but there's not that guy that's everyone's like, hey, Ty Domi, he comes in, he's going to kick your ass, right? Like he's just going to start a fight and beat you up.
Right. Now there is certainly a goon in hockey right now.
Tom Wilson?
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but you're gonna get people who are they're goons in football. Yeah. I mean, I would say Sue is a goon in football.
Any contact sport is going to have those people.
Yeah.
I think it's unavoidable.
Right. Sure.
Yeah. Well, and it's also like it's built into the protection of your team, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a check and balance.
Yeah.
It's part of the gamesmanship to a degree. Obviously, it's got to be kept in check. Haha. But yeah, it's part of the sportsmanship of the whole thing. Like you can't get away with some bullshit. It's why pitchers throw at batters. I mean, yeah.
Unwritten rules.
Yep. Let's bring in Tony La Russa. What do you have to say about unwritten rules, sir?
Fuck that asshole.
So the and it's like I kind of remember like when the LA Kings started to become popular, because I think any team that was just black and silver just got popular for a little bit.
Gretzky.
Yeah, that did happen.
Gretzky went there.
True.
Yep.
And there were like kids who were like, wearing like, it was, I'm such a huge Kings fan. It's like, where do you watch these games? I would like to know because this is mystical to me.
Right.
And they're like, oh, I don't know. It's like, you don't know shit. Yeah. It's like,
well, I've told you this before. I probably brought it up on this show. I used to wear Oakland Raiders stuff just because my shirt said real men wear black.
Yeah. God.
I was like, I'm so cool. And I pegged my black pants.
Well, yeah, it was when hip hop hit the suburbs, the white suburbs, because we've talked about Boys in the Hood and, everybody in the Raiders gear, and that shit blew up in white communities.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Anyway, so really, I mean, seeing this movie, it did not help.
Perception of
hockey, where it's like it's still just a bunch of fights and goons, but I could really laugh really hard at this movie.
Yeah, I mean, this movie exploits everything people who don't watch hockey think about hockey.
Yeah. Right. I mean, even down to hooligans in the stands.
Yeah.
Right.
Like just shit talking the team.
Like I would call this an exploitation hockey movie for sure.
Yeah.
It's
Hocksploitation.
Hockey exploitation. Yeah.
I like it.
Pucksploitation.
That's even better. I like that even better. Yeah. I'm surprised that Canada hasn't made a shit ton of these movies.
Right?
So this movie was one of those things where it's like, in some regard, it feels like something that could be on the level, like some of the jokes are kind of on the level of something like a Zucker and Abrams movie.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I made the comment to Jason. I don't know if you were out of the room, but I was like, he's like Leslie Nielsen in this movie.
He is
Paul Newman.
where he's
yeah.
like the straighter
straight man.
side of the
Yeah.
And like when the Hansons finally get their moment. And the guy and the organist, that is all very, very airplaney.
That entire scene.
We have to talk about that.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. So
I don't think I'd laughed that hard at a movie in quite a while.
It was killing me. It was lightheaded.
now here's kind of a funny thing about this movie. Some of the stuff I know, some of this stuff is relatively new to me just by looking at the Wikipedia page. But so the first thing which I'm gonna say is hilarious that Wikipedia states is that this movie wasn't as successful as Newman's 3 previous movies. The Towering Inferno, The Sting, and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And I'm like,
Well, no shit.
yeah, right, no movies are as popular as
The
those.
Towering Inferno had Steve McQueen in it too, right?
Yes.
So that's a whole story in of itself because apparently they did not get along, and Steve McQueen was a big time diva, and
Aren't
Paul
they kind of the same guy? That it feels like they'd be fighting for all the same roles.
kind of.
I could be wrong,
but that's one of those big movies where like every star is in it,
Right.
And has
Well, O.J. Simpson's in it.
and Steve McQueen, from what I understand, even had something in his contract where he had to have more lines than Paul Newman or some
surprised.
shit. Paul Newman said he would never do another movie like that again. He said, "I did that movie for the paycheck."
That's some Fast and Furious shit.
and he's like, never again.
What year was
Yeah.
that?
72, I
Yeah.
think.
And it was a blockbuster.
and-
It
right?
was a
But
Best Picture nominee.
And it,
Really?
and it also
Wow.
kind of killed Steve McQueen's career because he, after that movie, was kind of known as kind of really difficult to work with, and he demanded an insane amount of money for roles, and nobody would hire him.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, it was like 72, 73, somewhere around there.
Paul Newman kicked ass for the next 20
Oh yeah,
years.
because Paul Newman's
Paul Newman's
is
Paul
a
Newman.
is a guy. He's a guy's guy. He's
the man.
He's the man.
He's the man, and Steve McQueen can't beat the
he's
man.
the kid.
Can't beat the man.
Tune in to last week if you want to know more. So that little stat there is like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
what, are you kidding me
Right.
with this?
Well, this
Yeah.
is niche, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
can't imagine they marketed this for everybody to see it.
Well, it's R-rated in a time in which a lot of the stuff in this, even Melinda Dillon's tits, would have been in a PG-rated movie. It's like this market is not the wide market that the other three movies
Right,
had.
absolutely.
Right, exactly. So, okay. So,
And it's interesting because it does have a kind of like a Bad News Bears feel to it, right?
absolutely.
But
let's put it this
R-rated
way.
in hockey, right?
As a teenager, I was very attracted to this movie
Yeah.
once I saw it. It's
Yeah.
like, wow, I want more. I want to watch this
And
movie
the Bad
again.
News Bears was a huge hit like the year before, I think.
Yeah, well, in the mid '70s at the very least. I always liked the Bad News Bears one where they were at the Astrodome.
Yeah.
yes.
Always
Yeah.
liked them.
I like that too. Yeah.
Which one's that? I can't remember what that one's called.
I don't.
Bad News Bear go to Tokyo or something.
It's
Something
Bad
like
News
that.
Bear.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, but the Astrodome's in Houston.
I know. I don't know. I'm probably mixing up
Yeah,
Bad News
there's
Bears
some-
movies.
yeah. He's looking it up.
How many are there? Bad News
3.
Bears was the year before this one.
Okay.
So that tracks. Sequels. Where are you? I don't know. Go ahead and talk. I'll find
All
it.
right. So the other thing that I find kind of interesting, and this is something I did know, this was the one movie that Gene Siskel said he wishes he would have reviewed differently. Originally,
Breaking Training probably is. another.
I think that, yeah.
And then Go to Japan was after that. So it was like 76, 77, 78. They were cranking them out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and he was like, well, this is a movie that when I first saw it, I wasn't that impressed with, but I watched it again later and I realized that it's kind of a perfect comedy.
Right.
And so he always said that, that was one of his biggest underrated movies that he wished he'd have done a better service to when he first saw it, which is kind of interesting because like Siskel was not the type of guy who felt like he went back and revisited things and felt better about them or
Right,
whatever.
right.
Ebert did that a lot. both ways. I like, liking something more a second time or disliking it more a second time. So this was something, like I said, my dad brought it to my attention first. Then thought, hey, this is probably something you guys would like to talk about. It's a funny comedy. It kind of fits our sensibilities. We laughed our balls off. All of us are speaking. I had to slow down this episode so it makes it sound normal because all our balls are on the floor by the couch.
With our asses.
With our asses that also fell off. We're standing right now. We're not. We're not
Brood
sitting.
X. Oh, you're thinking
like
it. You're thinking it.
Cicadas. I was totally thinking about the buttless cicadas.
But anyway, my dad was like, after he made the suggestion, he went and rented it at the library or whatever, and was like, it's not that good of a movie, but it's a funny movie. Like almost like he was kind of hedging the bet, and to a certain extent, I can kind of understand it. Like, there's nothing in this movie that's particularly realistic. Like, obviously, there are all of these people would be in jail.
Oh yeah.
Also, it is very 70s.
Oh yeah.
There is a dialogue in this movie that is incredibly offensive today.
Yep.
But that said,
And representations of people.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Most definitely.
yeah, and
There's some. It's cringy at times.
Yeah.
For sure.
right, and a lot of that. I mean, to be honest with you, some of it is to a certain extent feels like it's taking advantage of an R rating. While at the same time, it's like it also kind of makes sense to play up the cartoonish, overly masculine sport of hockey that probably was a poor representation even then,
Right.
to a certain extent, right? So yeah, I mean, but like, so I can understand saying it's like, well, there are stuff about the story, about things that happen, because this was always something that always sticks out for me, even when I watch stuff like Major League, where it's like, okay, so you kind of get the impression you're halfway through a season and you're like just Shitsville, and then all of a sudden you're playing for the championship of something.
Right.
It's like you would have to win every game.
Yeah.
Like there is no losing at this
Yeah.
point.
They do.
And they do. They won the game.
And
It is very much like Major League is very much Slapshot in a lot of ways.
Like
For baseball.
Yeah.
A lot of ways.
Yeah.
For
the
sure.
entire ways.
Pretty much.
All
Pretty
the
much.
ways.
All of it.
I should mention that Nancy Dowd, who wrote Slapshot, wrote this based on her brother's experiences playing minor league hockey. So,
Right, and I could see minor league hockey being a little rougher too.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Like, it's not like it's gotten the exposure. It's a lot of local guys, which plays a big part in this too.
Totally.
I think. Yeah.
So there is definitely a persona that rings true, but a lot of the hockey stuff is very accentuated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And played for laughs and just to the extreme. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Which is
I mean,
fine.
it's all built up to something that's
Right.
like so ridiculous it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, so like the thing is, it's like, I don't know. Maybe if we watch this again a year from now, maybe the 2 hours would be a bit longer. This did feel
It feels too long.
sure, and
It could be like 20 minutes of this easily excised.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Braden's wife story could have
Yeah.
even though I liked her,
yes,
that could have been
oh, that's an incredibly
floor.
likable character that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
It yes. Or it can be there and be just as effective in a
smaller dose.
smaller dose. Yeah. Go.
Yeah, it's like, and I think we'll get into a little bit more detail there. I kind of think I know why it's there, but it doesn't necessarily help the way it thinks it does. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, so like it's a little bit too long. It's like maybe some of the jokes we wouldn't laugh quite as hard at now that we've seen it more recently, and maybe some of the stuff that we kind of winced at a little bit would be probably more pronounced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like, I get what Dad is saying. That said, it's a really, really funny comedy.
It is.
There are things that happen, and there are just the way some people talk are just gut busting.
Yeah, I mean, you start the movie with the French goaltender,
Right.
Who explains it's really clever start, right? He gives you the rules of hockey, like,
Right.
These are the terms for the layman, right? Mm-hmm. But he can't say anything correctly.
And it doesn't really help either.
No,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't at all. And he beats up the guy who's interviewing him, showing him that
That opening scene is pretty darn great.
it's perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
And
What does
and
he say? Hold on, let me check my notes.
and then it goes from that to the start of a game in which you see this kind of chintzy little American flag strung up poorly for the national anthem.
Yeah.
Which again, it's like, oh, this is just a small town, cheapo team.
The penalty box. He says, "You go to the penalty box. You feel shame, and then you go free."
Yeah. So
I could see Jason Mantzoukas.
Oh my
yeah.
God!
doing,
Yes,
like a remake or something.
Yeah.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
He would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, and especially because you could play it as a person who would have no real business playing hockey.
Absolutely.
But
None of
somehow
these
is
people
playing.
did. There's one guy that had any business playing hockey
Sure.
Yeah.
on the Chiefs,
Right.
right? And that's
Right.
Braden.
Right.
Because he's the leading scorer in the league.
Right. He's a good hockey player. He
Right.
likes hockey. He respects hockey. It's all that,
Yeah.
I wish that's interesting because I wish there had been more about him being kind of like playing on a team that's beneath him. Like he does that definitely comes out,
Right.
but not to the point where he's getting offers from actual NHL teams.
Well,
Right.
what you want is Bull Durham at that point.
Yes.
Where somebody either
Right.
is working his way back from an injury, or you want Paul Newman to be the Kevin Costner old timer,
Right.
bringing up the guy who has the talent.
The John C. Riley,
or the Tom Berenger.
the
from
catcher.
Major League.
Wasn't it John C. Riley in that?
no,
Bull
it
Durham?
was Tim
Bull
Robbins.
Durham? Tim Robbins. Fuck.
Yeah,
Jesus
Tim
Christ.
Robbins as
Yeah.
the pitcher and
Yeah.
bringing him up
Right.
to respect the game.
Where am I
or
getting John C. Riley from?
Days of Thunder.
I think he's a catcher in a movie, though.
I think he is
feel like
too.
he is.
Was he the catcher in For Love of the Game maybe or something?
Maybe. I don't remember.
I don't know. I'm going to go in deep research. Keep talking.
Okay.
Deep research on John C.
John C. Riley research.
Getting
I'm
deep.
gonna do my Riley research.
But yeah, that is true, because that is one thing that almost feels like until George Roy Hill and Paul Newman showed up, that maybe the story was Braden,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of story there, but it
For
doesn't.
Love of the Game. Boom.
But it doesn't really get like it doesn't really get resolved, right? Like, what does he get at the end? Nothing really.
He gets his wife back.
Did he though?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe, but I mean, but we have to come up with a headcanon beyond that to get that.
Right.
I mean, granted, they are now moving from Charlestown, someplace in probably the Appalachians, to Minnesota.
Right.
Well, big. If she wanted out of that town, I guess that's where she's going.
Yeah, you want to go to Minnesota now, I guess.
I guess. I mean, I like Minnesota, but it seems like
You're
this girl.
always pissing off fans somewhere.
I know,
by
right?
Talking shit about their
I don't
locale.
mean it like that, but I mean, but like his wife seemed not happy with a small town scenario, but maybe she was just not happy with the scenario. I don't know.
Right.
Anywho, so this movie is about the Charlestown Chiefs,
Yes.
minor league team, not good, last place. Player coach. Every team has a player coach too, which
Probably, yeah.
that was probably more common earlier in the hockey history, wasn't it?
Probably, and it happened in baseball back in the
Oh,
day,
sure,
like
Pete
the
Rose.
MLB and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
But he, the Chiefs are managed by Paul Newman. I don't exactly remember his name. It doesn't matter. It's Paul Newman, because Paul Newman's one of those guys who always plays Paul Newman, which is fine. but he's Paul Newman. And
he's also Paul Newman.
He is also. The team's general manager is Strother Martin, and he is not great at managing the team. Like, he's not really helping the team do better.
I think he's phoned it in at this point.
Yeah, it's kind of one of these things where it's like we've gone as far as we can. This town is a factory town, some sort of a plant.
It just seems like Pittsburgh to me. Or
sure does.
Something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the town is kind of dying in a lot of ways, because there's this kind of looming threat that the mill or whatever, the factory, is going to close down, and pretty much everybody in town is going to be out of work.
You cannot sustain any kind of sport team that costs money when people aren't working.
When they're not working. And on top of that, which is kind of funny with what happens at the end, because they really kind of screws that town over. But anyway, so there's this kind of...
that town is fucked. I mean, the town is dead.
Yeah. And this is something that's actually pretty...
It's in its death throes.
Yeah. And this is something that's actually really, really... Like, it's something that a lot of movies in the 70s and early 80s kind of did, where you've got this factory-centered town that is struggling. And it either takes somebody to come in to save it, or it takes people just finding new jobs, or it almost seems like this was kind of interwoven with things that, like, people were probably really dealing with.
Yeah. What I like about that storyline in conjunction with what's happening with the team is that, all of these people know that they've lost their jobs, or they're losing their jobs, and their whole lives are being upended. And now there's this hockey team that is starting to win games, and winning games by, like, beating the shit out of people. It's this cathartic sort of process that they can participate in.
Well, Killer definitely spells it out for everybody too. Yeah.
So it's kind of beautiful, because they're giving this town, like, something to help them process their anger.
Yeah. Right. And it's just, I think it was probably just a lot of people were dealing with this horseshit, in that period of time in which a lot of manufacturing, a lot of stuff was kind of transitioning from being, well, this town always had this mill, to now the mill can't compete with something that's larger or something that's cheaper from overseas
probably.
And
overseas,
stuff like that.
For sure. Yep.
So there is a little bit of a kind of late 70s social commentary here.
Yeah.
That probably was affecting quite a few people. And then you had, because a lot of these guys were playing hockey to not work on like on a production line. So there was a little bit of mention of that too. And so they suck. They're not very good. They have one good player. Everybody else are scrubs. And their player coach is over the hill.
Yeah.
And everything is very gray and sullen. And then all of this is building towards the team's losing money, the town's losing its livelihood. It's just none of it's going to work out very well. And then all of a sudden, the general manager buys 3 brothers who, why he bought them, who knows, but he's spending the team's money. He brings in these 3 dorks who are, who show up with a suitcase full of toy cars.
Yep.
And but they have a can-do attitude. Yeah, they are ready to play when the coach needs them,
and they echo his every word.
Right. They are sponges ready to, but the Hanson brothers come to town, but they're weird. Nobody knows what to do with them. They're overly excited to be there, which nobody else is.
Right.
And so it's we got to deal with this now. We got 3 more spots on the bench.
They're never going to see the ice. Is basically what.
That's his plan. Yeah, that's what Paul Newman's plan is. So eventually, it gets to a point where Paul Newman kind of has some road pieces. He likes to sleep around. Now he's kind of separated from his wife.
Yep.
And he is going to. He goes into this one town and he's going to see this one girl that he always sleeps with in town, who is a wife of another player.
Hockey goalie, the goalie for the other team.
Goalie for another team, a rival team. And he sleeps with her, and this is Melinda Dillon, who is in the very same year was also the mom of the little boy who's abducted in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which is weird because she was nominated for an Oscar for that movie, and she's in this movie the entire time topless.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
it's kind of
maybe not even pretty much.
Pretty much, and she's briefly covered by a blanket.
Yeah,
and then topless for the rest of her scene. And so she is telling this story about how she's experimented with women, to which her husband she's worried that her husband will think that she is a quote dyke, and that if she's a dyke, that will make him quote queer.
Right.
Which is, I don't understand that leap to logic.
It's just like BS ignorance.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I'm pretty sure that even back then, guys were like, "Oh, my wife's going to sleep with women. I want to in on that."
I also think there's like a little bit of satire there, right? Like the dumb hockey player,
probably
kind of.
Yeah.
Like,
well, because it does get
super
echoed
macho,
later.
little bit dumb. Yeah.
Because a player on Paul Newman's team,
does that make him?
Yeah. Does that make him queer when he
Right.
says something?
Right.
So he decides to use this information to play some mind games with the goalie.
This is really the start of his
old plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he he starts taunting the guy by calling the guy's wife a dyke, to which then starts gets a goal scored on him, and then he starts a fight and gets kicked out of the game, and the team has no backup goalie, and he knew that, and Paul Newman knew that.
Right.
So they basically was just scoring on the team the whole night.
Right.
And, after having a bunch of losses, a bunch of bad losses, they score a win. Now, we have, what's the guy's first name? It's Ontkian.
Michael
Ontkian, who plays Braden, the star player. He's not happy with this win because it's like, they didn't have. This is a trash win. This is garbage time, basically.
Right.
And but Newman doesn't really care.
Win's a win.
A win's a win, and right now we need wins. And so he starts to kind of get into the idea that it's like, and also the Hansons are real excited when there's fights.
Right.
We see this a few times, but he says like, hey, you just got to get in their heads. It's like just get in their heads and mess with them and basically punch them before they can punch you. And that quickly turns into physical violence and physical altercations that will take place. Well, at that point, they start really kind of they go on this road trip, and they win pretty much every game on the road trip by just starting fights, getting the other team's best players kicked out, and then from that, basically able to kind of run roughshod over the opposing team. They come home from this, and so you've got. And there's a couple of things going on. One, the fans love it, and so there's something the team or the town is rallying around. Like, like Jason, you said. It's like it's some place for the town to kind of put their impotent anger.
Yep.
And then, so you got that going on. Paul Newman feels good about himself because, well, he's no longer the over-the-hill bum that should retire. He's now the successful coach of a winning team.
Right.
But there are two other issues. One, their star player, Braden, is having marital problems. And this is something that's really kind of not explained very well either. It seems as though he has wants and desires that his wife doesn't fulfill. Like, it's kind of that, well, she doesn't dress up sort of thing, right? Like, maybe if she did her hair or dressed in sexier clothes, then I would be...
That didn't really make itself clear to me until the end.
Right, which is kind of a problem because all you see from her is that she's angry and drunk most of the time.
She's
Right.
given up.
Right.
Basically,
There's an incompatibility there, I think. And,
Yeah. Because also she sees him hitting on another woman, seemingly.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one scene in which she gets into Paul Newman and Braden get into his van while she's driving, and it sounds like that Braden is talking about, like saying really sweet things to the wife, but it's to their big dog.
Yeah, he's like, "You're my girl."
And she is so angry. Lily is her name. She gets so angry that like they're like skipping over the hills in town, and
hilarious.
It is because like Paul Newman's like really scared for his life.
You're really okay. And she's like, "No, I'm falling apart."
And he's like bracing himself like inside. So there's that going on, but then there's also this looming problem with the team isn't going to be able to survive, so they need to figure out who the owner is to find out what their future is.
Right.
And the owner, nobody knows who owns their team because, as Paul Newman at one point said, "Oh, she, whoever it is signs your check, so who fucking cares, right?
Right.
What do you care?" So Paul Newman decides to keep his players like trying and doing what they're doing. He feeds a bullshit story to Emmett Walsh, who is the sports writer for Charlestown, and basically says that an owner of a retirement community in Florida is interested in buying the Chiefs, but then I think implies that they have to keep winning.
Right.
So the players start kind of doing more and more and more of like the head games, the fighting, all of that. But the whole time it's all horseshit, but it's producing. And maybe I think he is also trying to make it a self-fulfilling prophecy that if they believe it and they keep winning, that somebody will come along and buy a winning team.
Right.
Because I think it's actually Emmett Walsh who's like, well, who would buy who in their right mind would buy a fifth place team?
And I think that'll change.
That will change. Yep. So, so there's that going on. So every time that there isn't hockey happening, Paul Newman's trying to figure out who the owner is so he can try to get at least some motivation to make his bullshit story true. But in the in-between time, there's a player on the team who nicknames himself Killer.
Not quite yet. He does it after the fight, but yeah.
Right. He gets into a huge fight because somebody says to Paul Newman that he's over the hill and he should just retire. And to which the guy goes ape shit. He's like, "You can't say that to to him." And he keeps talking about like this, like the honor of hockey or whatever. And it's like he's just beating the shit out of a guy.
Right. And the Hanson brothers are on the bench going, "Dave's a killer."
Yeah,
Dave's a killer.
Yeah. So at that point, because he has to sit the rest of the game out, the Hansons get to come out.
Right.
And who wants to tell the brilliant story of the Hansons?
I don't even know if I can put it all in succession, but
Well, just start listing off shit that
basically they get on ice and they just start beating the shit out of everything that moves.
It begins by them checking everyone
everyone that's on the ice. They check them. They're like flying, checking, like off their feet, hitting their heads into the boards. Then all three of them check a guy and beat the shit out of him. Then one of them trips the goalie as he skates by, and he has this. And each time they do something like this, they all skate off like in unison, smiling.
Yeah.
And then one of them goes by the bench of the other team with the stick up and hits the whole other team in the face. And then another brother just goes to center ice and does a slap shot, and it just goes.
Everybody, there's several shots of people like whipping their head, watching
their heads, and it ends up hitting the organ player in the head. And I think at that point we all were like dead.
We were dead.
We don't even know what else happened after that.
Well, at that point, like the whole time, also, because I think at the when they're out there, Paul Newman's on the bench.
He's got that smile.
He's just got this smile this entire time, like, oh my God,
yeah,
we're gonna be this is something brand new that we can play with.
We're a force to be reckoned with,
right? And so this starts. The whole time they were concerned about a player named Oglethorpe.
Oglethorpe.
Oh, yeah, Oglethorpe. They've been worried about him because he apparently is like a fucking goon.
Yeah, he's a murderer.
He is, and every time they think they're going to play him, they get worried, and then they find out, oh, he's been suspended, or he's in jail right now.
He's been incarcerated.
Right.
He's been tried and convicted.
But all this time, they are becoming that. At the same time,
they're becoming Oglethorpe,
right? and then because they start going into other towns and they're being like protested against and everything.
They have a boss of townies that follow them. Go ahead, Jason.
The guy who played Oglethorpe is Nancy Dowd's brother, the one that she based the movie on.
Oh, that's funny.
Yep.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah. So they've got the booster club that follows. Oh, there's one point. There's one point in which Paul Newman's trying to find out who the owner is, and he's at a hotel. And in the background, you find out like they're not gonna like give a room to the Chiefs or something.
No, they won't let the Hanson brothers sleep in the same room.
Okay, that's what. And so it's
against the rules.
Yeah. They take the guy. And they pull him out and they start like just upside down, like dumping him,
banging his head into the ground, and then one of them grabs a plant.
It starts whipping him with it. Yes.
Oh God. And then there's that other moment right after it at the start of a game. The Hanson brothers have become like the starting line. They go out there at the beginning of the game and they beat the shit out of everybody to start the game. That's basically what's happening.
Right. Sometimes they do it before the national anthem.
Well, that's what I was going to say, during the national anthem, though.
Well, yeah, because they start a fight during the warm-ups when there's no refs on the ice.
Yeah,
in the one game.
There's no one to stop it, they say.
And then the ref in the one game goes over to them during the national anthem, and I don't know any of the brothers.
He's like, I've got my eyes on all of you.
He's like, I'm listening to the fucking song. And the ref's like, oh.
Which is funny because it's like, I'm listening to the fucking song, and it's the national anthem.
Right, yeah.
Most of the time you don't refer to that as a song.
But they are totally at attention and very respectful of the national anthem, and they're just completely bloodied already.
Well, then they have a guy with an axe beating up the side of their bus.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's like, what the hell are you doing?
I'm making it look mean.
It's like he's giving them speed holes in the side of their bus.
So good.
And then, yeah, so they start like, they get this kind of thug reputation, rightfully earned.
Yep.
But they have an entire bus of boosters that follow them. Some of them are women who are more than happy to take off their clothes outside when they pull over to like greet their fans.
They're more like groupies.
Very much so. Yep.
But then they are also like, it's like it's like the Raiders taking the black hole with them, or like the dog pound coming with the Browns or something. And they moon the protesters as they come into town, both the team and the boosters. I do like that one guy mooned the protesters from the team, sticking his entire back half out of the
His
bus.
legs were sticking up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was clever.
That's good. Nice
That's
touch.
clever. Yeah, doing good there. So they basically they get themselves in the championship contention.
Mm-hmm.
And all the while, there's all of the stuff juggling with Braden's wife's situation. She eventually leaves him. It almost seems like Paul Newman's like hitting on her, but he's really, I think, trying to figure out what's wrong to try to fix it.
He's kind of fascinated by her.
Yeah, because she's.
But he's also trying to like get a rise out of Braden
because Braden will not fight.
Right.
And
so he's trying to antagonize Braden a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And because Braden keeps saying it's like you're not gonna make me a killer or anything. You're not gonna make me fight.
Bench you.
Yeah, then I'll bench you. So he and he also, I think, sees something in Braden that he has seen time and time again, which is the players basically losing their home lives in the course of a career or whatever, because he himself is separated from his wife or divorced from, I don't know, it's a small town, they still, I don't know. Anyway, everybody knows that woman is his wife, but it seems like they're also exes too. But
except for the goalie, who bets him $5.
Right.
That
he doesn't know anything.
She won't even look at your face, and he goes over and dances with her.
Yeah.
The bartender's like, "That's his wife."
Right. Yep. So that's all happening. He's trying to figure out who the owner of the team is so that he can try to figure out something to keep the team going.
Right.
And then all the while they are rising through the standings to play for the championship of the whatever league it is, the Moose Turd League or whatever. Federal league. Yeah. So they end up. So what ends up happening is that he does end up finding out who the owner is. And the woman basically tells him, it's like, yeah, it's great that you're winning. It's great because I'm in the black now. It's like people are buying tickets. Everybody's happy. This is the first time in 4 years. And he's like, oh, that's great. So who are you selling the team to, basically?
He's like, well, how's the sale going in Florida?
Yeah.
She's like, oh, great. And then she's like, I know you planted this story, you dipshit.
Yeah. And she basically was like, it's better for me to just close the team and take it as a tax write-off than it is to sell to somebody. I won't make the same money out of it.
Right.
Which kind of makes sense. I mean, like if it was a major league team, that would be obviously not true. But it's, whatever. But so he basically becomes defeated. And at this point, he kind of feels like, this is it for me. I'm not going to, I'm not going to play another year. I'm not going to coach another year. We're just going to go out playing the championship game like good old-fashioned hockey.
Like Ed O'Neill or whatever the name guy's.
Ed O'Neill, yes, like Al Bundy.
Yep.
Scoring 4 touchdowns. There is one important thing that happens before the championship game. They play a game against Syracuse, and he puts a bounty on the head of the player coach at Syracuse.
The evil looking dude.
He is a monster kind of guy.
Yeah.
He looks a little bit like he could just be Frankenstein.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, to get them back for the championship game, which is going to be against Syracuse, it turns out that that guy ends up buying a bunch of bruisers.
He brings back, all the old bruisers.
Right.
Yeah.
And who else?
Ogie
Oglethorpe.
Yep.
And that's the one they're most scared.
Well, it's the goons' greatest hits.
Right.
Like it pulls them all out.
There's one
like,
other
like
important...
one guy's running a donut shop in Minnesota or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's one other important note. Before this, also, Paul Newman had brought Braden's wife to his wife's salon to get her hair did. And
That apparently equals whatever that problem was.
right, I don't
Yeah, I don't know. Either.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
But it's important to the story.
ultimately
at least, even
is.
if we don't know why.
Right. So, because the idea, because like even Paul Newman's like, look, I didn't touch the kid. It's just a kid. It's like, just help me help her out by making her feel good about herself is what he basically sells to his
He's trying to
wife.
fix the relationship
Yeah.
with his own wife, but like vicariously. I don't know if that's the
Yeah.
right word, but
No, it's vicarious. Yeah.
he's trying to make success of something he couldn't do himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Because he does think that Braden is the best player. I mean, like, there's no doubt in that.
He knows.
He knows. And it's like, because he also realizes in Strother Martin's office that a player that they used to play with that was like Braden, who was that good, ultimately like killed himself because he couldn't save his relationship.
I think so. Yeah.
And so that's when he kind of has the moment of realization that's like, if nothing else, I have to fix that.
We should
Right.
mention that Lily is played by Lindsay Krause, who is also an Academy Award nominee.
Mhm.
She was nominated for Best Supporting Actress for Places in the Heart, 1984. She's also in the very badass David Mamet film House of Games. And she actually was married to Mamet for a little while. I want to say, I could be wrong, but I want to say that she's Zosha Mamet's mother.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
She's very spunky in this movie.
Yes.
She's full of the spunk.
She feels like she should be in Bad News Bears.
Kind of.
Very Bad News Bears.
Yeah, it's like 10 years before she was pitching for the Bears.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So she
Yes, confirmed. She's the mother of Zosha Mamet.
so the final game happens, and all the while Paul Newman's like, we're gonna play it old fashioned. And the Bruisers are just kicking the shit out of him.
Right.
And he's the whole time on the bench is like old time hockey.
Yeah.
like Paul Newman is broken now. You know.
Yeah. When they go back into the office or the locker room, he's just sitting there repeating it over and over again.
Right.
And the owner comes, Strother Martin?
Strother Martin, the general manager.
General
yeah.
manager, thank you. He comes in and really gives like a rousing speech about
Yeah, it's like there's a bunch of NHL guys here to look at you guys, and you're out there like you're like a bunch of guys like monkeys fucking a football, as Randy Quaid would put it.
Yeah. Yes.
By the way, Randy Quaid's a weirdo these days.
Are we going to talk about Randy Quaid
Oh,
now?
look him up. Look him up. He's a weird dude nowadays.
He's like
Oh, yeah.
Independence Day weird.
Wasn't he almost like, wasn't he
Right?
like on the lam for a while?
Uh-huh.
And like wearing tinfoil hats and shit with his wife?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shitter's full, Clark.
The
Yeah.
shitter is full.
Yep.
And like he was posting crazy videos and stuff for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he still like, is he okay?
I don't think
Because
so.
that was a while ago.
No, he's still alive. He ain't okay.
Oof.
Yeah. Anyway, yes. So Strother Martin comes in. It's like, hey, NHL guys are here to see you guys, and you guys are embarrassing us. And so they decide to go out.
Ooh, a word about Strother Martin.
Yeah.
I'm gonna interject. Strother Martin was born in Kokomo, Indiana.
Oh, I thought you were going to connect him to David Lynch.
Well, no, but he was in Cool Hand Luke.
Yes.
And he delivered the famous line as the prison captain, what we've got here is a failure to
What
communicate.
we've got here is a failure to communicate.
And-
First
and
time
I-
I ever
and
heard
I-
that line was on a Guns N' Roses album.
And what I want to believe that his character was based after Bill Veeck. You know who Bill Veeck is? Bill Veeck was a pretty famous baseball owner.
Oh,
In like the 50s on. He owned the St. Louis Browns. Tried to push the Cardinals out of St. Louis as the owner of the St.
Good
Louis
luck.
Browns. He was famous for gimmicks. right? He's the one who had a little person, signed him to a 1-day contract to have him bat. And because he couldn't find the pitcher, couldn't find the strike zone, and four balls, right? Walked the batter. This little person, his name was Eddie Gadel. He
Are you reading this?
I did a little bit of research.
Oh, okay.
But I know about this story from when I was a kid because I used to read the Baseball Hall of Shame, and Bill Veeck was all over that fucking thing. But he's also in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Bill Veeck is, but. Well,
if you're going to be in one, might as well.
Eddie Gadel was taking bows as he was taking his base. It was like in the whole place. It was it gave him a standing ovation. Like it was a pretty amazing stunt. And then he was pitch run for, but he's also, you probably guys know the Disco Demolition Night, right? That happened at Kaminsky Park.
I don't know this.
You don't know the story? Oh my God, there was like. They were gonna destroy a bunch of disco records, and one
like
of the
81 or 82 or something.
It was 1979.
Okay. I was thinking the end of
Disco
the
Demolition Night. They hyped it up on the radio, and they were gonna go and just destroy a bunch of disco records in between innings, and it created a riot. There was a riot at Kaminsky Park, and they had to forfeit the game. This was like the infamous kind of thing, yeah.
Crazy.
And Bill Veeck was behind that.
Is that why Saturday Night Fever records are so expensive?
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know if they are expensive.
They are not.
But yeah, Disco Demolition Night. Yeah,
$1.50.
So Bill Veeck incited a riot.
That's awesome.
So anyway, he kind of reminded me the Strother Martin character kind of reminded me of him because he's doing like the fashion shows and shit. He's doing
That
all
is
this kind of
true.
goofy stuff to
Right.
kind of like drum up publicity for the
Right.
team. Yeah.
Yeah, because there is a lot of that stuff early on.
Oh,
where
another thing that Bill Veeck did was he was the one who convinced Harry Carey to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Huh.
Yep.
Yeah, because Harry Carey started as the White Sox announcer.
He actually told Carey that he either sing or I'll play recording. So Carey was like, fine, and then it became a thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, he gives the big speech, and smash cut to them now kicking the other team's ass, just destroying them.
Yep.
And the whole time Braden is just kind of sitting dejected on the bench, and he won't go out there and fight. He's not going to do it. And so he looks up, he happens to see in the crowd that his wife has come in, and she's looking pretty good. She's looking pretty good.
Yeah, she's dolled up.
Yeah, she's a little dolled up. And so he decides, fuck it. And you think he's going to go out there and join in on the fight because she's like, kill him. It's like she's really excited for this. And so he goes out and he starts performing a skating striptease.
Yeah. Yep. Bill Veeck would have loved it.
No. And the marching band that plays for the team starts kind of giving them the old burlesque music or whatever.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, as he's down to basically just his jockstrap,
Yep.
and his long T-shirt, they McCracken, who's the guy that hired all of the thugs, is complaining to the ref. It's like, this is obscene.
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting because the whole time Braden is talking about like all the fights and all of that stuff is not in the spirit of the game. It's disgusting. It's all of and he's speaking at it. And meanwhile, the biggest bruiser of them all is complaining that what Braden is doing is not in the spirit
and obscene and
yes, and yeah. So it's disgusting and obscene. And when the ref won't do anything about it because he's just been forced to sit there and watch fucking 10 guys fight each other like crazy. The ref says, "Hey, if you keep complaining about this, you're going to forfeit the game." And he starts,
take your hands off me, or
yes,
forfeit the game.
Yeah, because he starts to rough up the ref a little bit, and so the ref starts to walk off. McCracken punches him in the back of the head, and he's like, "Oh, that's it. You're out of here, buddy. You lose." And he skates over to
This is funny.
Paul Newman
To hand him the trophy.
Yeah, it's like, go over there, get your trophy. You won, you bum.
Well, no, he goes to hand it to him, and Braden comes swooping in and takes it, in only his jockstrap, and starts raising it above his head. It's fucking hilarious,
Right. And one of the players' wives is like, he's gonna get he's gonna catch his death out there.
Yeah, catch his death because there was talks about hypothermia and stuff earlier in the movie.
Yeah, right. And
It's great. It's important to note too that all of the chiefs, while Braden is doing this, are starting while still punching people.
Right.
They start to look. It's very like Naked Gun-ish,
Right.
In the
baseball scene. Yeah.
They're punching and like looking at him, and Coach gets that smile on his face again. Like, this is something good.
Right. It's just whatever, man. Just go out there and do whatever.
Every time Paul Newman like looks with some sort of satisfaction in this movie is so great.
His faces are perfect in this.
Yeah. He's really good at the face acting in this movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so so then yes, they are champions by way of forfeit. They're going to have a victory parade. They're going to close down, but not all's terrible, because Paul Newman has gotten the job to manage and play the Minnesota Nighthawks.
Yes.
And he's going to bring his whole team with him.
Yeah, when I get there, I'm bringing these guys out. He's telling his
ex-wife, who looks to be carting something around.
She's moving to wherever she said she was going.
She's going to Long Island, I believe.
Yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, you're not going to know how to get to me. Just look up the Minnesota.
Call me through the team. Yep.
Call me through the team. But yeah. So happy-ish ending.
Well, because Lily and Braden are back together. Lily asks Paul Newman, "Is she coming to Minnesota?" And he says, "Of course." Like, he's like a Hope Springs Eternal kind of dude. It's weird the way he is, because he's kind of doom and gloom, but he's always also.
Well, he puts on a good face for his people.
But I almost feel like he believes it too.
I think this time he does. I don't
think she's coming.
No. Yeah, we will never know, because we never see this team again.
Right.
We get fucking Stephen Baldwin.
Oh God, yeah.
Poor man's Emilio Estevez.
Right.
Yes, totally.
And Gary Busey, the rich man's Jake Busey.
Oh man, yeah.
I do like Jake Busey in The Frighteners, though. We've talked about that.
Oh yeah.
Jake Busey's fine. He was great in.
I've seen him do some shady shit in person.
Has he?
We're talking about movies, though.
We're like at cons. I've heard some stories. Yeah.
You're telling me Gary Busey hasn't done some shit?
Oh, Gary Busey's full of shady shit.
Yeah, but became the rich man's Jake Busey. They're both Buseys.
They're both regular people's Buseys.
Jake Busey is great in Contact. He's super creepy. He's like the religious zealot who
which
blows
he
up
may actually be
rocket.
in real life too.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh,
I don't want him coming after me, so I'm just gonna stop talking about him.
Yeah,
Tom Skerritt will be there. He'll take that bomb for you.
I thought Tom Skerritt died. Did Tom Skerritt die?
Tom Skerritt.
Tom Skerritt.
Tom Skerritt. Yeah, he might be. I don't know.
I think he's dead.
Well, while Jason's looking this up, the argument about hockey and fighting.
Oh, Tom Skerritt might still be with us. 87 years of age, but he's still with us.
He can take that bomb.
Finesse and beauty, because there is beauty to hockey. And
well, they are better skaters than even ice skaters.
What's what I'm saying? Like, there is a part of hockey that everyone overlooks. I think Braden is the representation of the finesse and beauty of
the skill
and the athleticism and skill of hockey.
He's the Joshua Jackson from the Mighty Ducks.
Sure. All I'm saying is that he represents the part of hockey that everyone always dismisses.
Sure.
Because it's a violent sport.
Yes, the athlete.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Hansons are what everybody who goes to a hockey game wants to see.
Or assumes.
Right. It's like everybody wants. There's so many people who never have been to an Indianapolis 500, only sort of know stuff that happens at a race, and they expect a demolition derby.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
want car crashes.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you really don't at these things. You
Yeah.
really don't.
Yeah.
If you watched a whole game of hockey with me ever, you would hear me at least once say, "Do you know how hard that is?"
Right. Well, everything about it
Like
is
they're skating and using the stick and moving a puck, and
that's
like,
frozen. That if it hits you in the face, is gonna fucking
Yeah,
hurt.
but think like I can't even skate.
Well, yeah,
Let
I
alone
can't do
coordinate with the stick and go backwards and move a puck and shoot
Right.
it and all that shit. It's just a very skilled.
Well, and then you got goalies. You have to stand still.
Yes, or stand on their heads.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
How much money did
that's
you
a
say this
hockey
made?
term.
Like 21 million or something.
Yeah, I got 28
That's a
according
lot
to
in the
Wikipedia.
70s,
28's that's
But
good.
not as much as his previous movies.
Well, of course.
28 million is pretty solid.
Was
Yeah.
that a couple hundred million?
It's a
now?
top 10. It's a top 10 of 1977
I
or
gotta,
something. I think.
gotta say it's at least 100 million now. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it said it's like top like 9th of 1977 or something like that.
Oh, I don't know.
That's crazy. That surprises me, actually. That's Paul Newman being in this movie, right?
Probably.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing about this movie. It's one of those movies that people who like funny cussing, because there is some funny almost right away at some point. I think Paul Newman says something like, "Oh, fuck it," when they're talking about something. And it's like it was just funny because of the. I mean, and they're oh god.
There's a note about that actually. Paul Newman said that he wasn't really much for language before this movie, but because the character demanded it, he said there was a little bit of a hangover after the movie with the character, and he said he couldn't stop like saying fuck and cursing. Yeah, after the
He
movie.
even like kind of admonishes Lily for swearing.
Yeah,
A lot, too.
Yeah, he does. Well, and he,
Why
because
do you cuss? Why do you?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is he's fascinated by this girl who is not very girly.
Oh, tomboyish.
Yeah.
Right. And he's so used to the locker room talk that when he hears a girl saying it, oh my God, the scene.
And Braden's not like that.
And Braden's not like that because she keeps saying when she sees him talking to another woman, it's like, oh, he's gonna bore her with his philosophy of something.
There's
Right.
something interesting
Yeah.
that happens with his character. He just becomes kind of more interested in the zest of life.
Yeah.
You know, he becomes almost like wonder, this person of wonder. Like things that happen, he kind of starts to revel in. He starts to take more interest in people.
He's almost like Ron Livingston from Office Space. Like he's been relieved of some kind of
little
pressure
bit.
on himself.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. He's kind of like let himself live.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and like so there's one scene with Paul Newman and Lily where he sees her following her husband, and so he decides to track her down and like, hey, what's going on? You think that he's hitting on her. She thinks he's hitting
Yeah.
on her, and she has no interest in any of that. And we don't really have an interest to see this either, I will admit. But she's sitting there, and in the center of this town is the statue of a dog.
Yeah.
To which she says, "So what's the story with that dog?" And he says basically, "Oh, that's the dog that saved everybody in this town
Saved
from a
Charleston.
saved
the
Charleston,
guy who founded the town.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Who saved it from a flood."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Well, fuck that dog."
Because she hates the town.
She hates the
Yeah.
And the line
Yeah.
right before that I love when he follows her into the park and she
Yeah,
sits
so
down.
great.
Oh, God, yes.
He's like, there have been 3 rapes and 2 murders in the last year here. She's like, well, I didn't do it. She's like, well, I could protect my, like,
Right.
what do I have to worry about here?
Right. Right. And it's also middle of the day. It's like,
Right.
that's not going to happen now. It's like, yeah, he's there. Yeah. I mean, between that and the chaotic glee of the Hansons, of this kind of hodgepodge of unsavory sorts who aren't really all that bad. Although there is one of the other bruisers who doesn't feel great about what's going on with the team.
Right.
But he almost is kind of forgotten. So, again, speaking to some of the deficiencies with this movie is that there are a lot of threads that feel unresolved.
Introduced and then not, yeah.
Right. Or at least introduced midstream, like as if something was excised from the script or the movie or something.
It feels like you're laying, almost like a TV show.
Yeah.
Like you're laying the groundwork for later episodes or later revisiting of a certain character who gets a spotlight later.
Right.
And they just don't.
Right. Exactly. But there are some nice things that do get oddly resolved, like the goalie who's the French Canadian, and he's at the bar with Paul Newman, and they're looking at they're bird dogging, but then he eventually meets a girl, and she's and she seems nice and sweet, and they're gonna work out or whatever,
right?
So like there are some little threads like that do at some point before the end get resolved,
right?
But it's there are a lot of very bizarre things that just kind of are there, but then either they go unresolved or parts of it was edited out for however,
right?
Whatever the situation is. But that said, this movie is a very, very solid comedy. It is definitely of its time. So again, some of the dialogue is iffy.
If you want to see a cool guy Paul Newman in some of the most hilarious clothes ever, this is the movie for you.
Well, if you want to see three dorks hilariously beat up everybody, this movie is for you. By the way, they were all hockey players.
Yeah.
So, all minor.
So was Michael Antikin. He was a college hockey player.
You could tell he could skate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, he yeah.
Yep.
Paul Newman did not skate.
No. He had a really hilariously bad double early in the movie.
Yeah. It was obviously a guy with spray painted hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, this is a movie that is, it's one of those things where it's like, I always like these types of comedies over stuff like The Hangover. I have no interest in seeing any of the Hangover movies. I don't want to see those types of antics. This has something where it is cartoonish in nature around something that, if you think of it in the most abstract way, is a cartoonish thing. Hockey is kind of a cartoonish sport in a lot of ways.
Oh.
Well, I mean, just in like the fact that it's precariously placed on ice, on thin blades. You've got sticks that you could very easily hit somebody with. There's a lot of crashing into stuff. It's a very...
Would you say that there's a lot of potential for slapstick? Oh.
Yeah,
man.
but that's a different movie.
Oh, but yeah. Oh.
Wait.
Sticks and Slapshot and sticks.
Okay.
Yeah. Fuck, man, no support on that joke.
I'm sorry.
Jesus.
I was just going to let it play out.
Damn.
See where you guys took it.
No damn support.
I like it. I like slapstick comedy.
I do like slapstick comedies. That joke fell on his face.
And
All
that's
right.
funny.
Fine.
When things fall on their face.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good job, Jason.
You
Sure.
did a thing. You did the wordy version of slapstick
Someone laughed, and that person is my people. Wow, this is getting weird now.
I wouldn't
Tough
part.
room.
Tough room.
I wouldn't
Jesus.
part any C's yet for those people.
Man, I'm Jason Oliver, and you've been listening to Film Seizure.
All right, now that he's gone, let's start this episode, Chuck.
Let's talk about this Veek fella. Have you heard of him?
Oh no, I haven't.
That was actually really good.
Dropping some fucking shit on Bill Veek, man.
That was good.
stuff.
That was
He's
good.
fascinating. I'd love to see someone make a Bill Veek movie.
Do it.
Yeah, do it.
Fascinating, dude.
Do the thing that Joe Bob says.
Do the thing.
Make your own movie.
So I would say
yes,
that the recommendations that we got this month were overall really good.
Yeah.
yes. So here's a little bit of a thing here. We've already recorded the next 2 weeks. All across the board, we had 5 very different movies.
Yeah.
We had a war drama, a poker drama, a sports comedy, a family comedy, and then one of the heaviest dramas that we've probably dealt with in a long time on this show. In the mob dramas, yes.
Oh, cool. Yeah. It's funny. I don't.
It's fairly heavy
For what that movie is. I don't really even consider it that heavy. It's not really melodramatic.
No, but there's a lot of heavy stuff in it. Like there's heavy character, there's heavy violence,
Heavy people.
Paul Sorvino is a heavy person. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I feel what you're saying, but I think we've done more emotionally heavy movies than
Leaving Las Vegas.
Leaving Las Vegas, Fearless.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Right.
Sure. But I mean, it's been a while since, other than Leaving Las Vegas, it's been a while that we've really gotten heavy.
Yeah.
Anyway. So. We talked about we went to Afghanistan. We had the Beast. We then went down to New Orleans, played a little poker with Edward G. Robinson.
We went far, 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 far away with Shrek.
We sure did.
Yep.
Yes. We had some pasta with Joe Pesci's mom.
The Gabagool.
And we had this movie, which was just this kind of nice light. Right in the middle of the month, we did 2 light movies where we have this one and then next week's, which is a suggestion from your children.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah. I cry in that episode a little bit.
You do a little bit.
Yeah.
It was a little
Spoiler
touching, a little
alert.
heartfelt.
Yeah.
It's fun. Listen to that episode, because I think even going into it, Shrek 2, we might not, I'm not calling anyone out, we might not have all been on board, right? We might not have known what to expect.
Well, I was on board, so
we might not have known what to expect from that movie and that discussion, but I feel like it was a really good one for all of us.
I'm feeling a little like,
I didn't call anyone out, and you were great. You're great in that episode. I thought it was a really good one.
It was a good episode.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good. I think
it was good to do something a little outside of my comfort zone too. Yeah. It's good to expand our horizons, as they say.
Yeah.
My
kids will like that episode quite a bit.
Yeah. Even though I did like, I was the only person to break our no cursing.
Yeah, but you only said
pledge.
Hell or whatever.
I think I dropped a fuck.
No, I don't think you did.
Well, I'll tell you what. I don't know who else's kids will listen, but my kids have heard me say fuck before.
Have they really?
Oh yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I know.
For what I hear, they've seen your dad type fuck before.
And that's a story for another time.
Grandpa.
Right there with Sodomania Slop Shots.
Oh no, we've already told that story.
I know. That's what I'm saying. We're not going to tell the whole story. So yeah, I mean, Dad, you sent us a couple of good ones.
Yeah, these were fun. This was a fun day. We did both these in one day, Cincinnati Kid and Slapshot. So they were really fun to come back and enjoy our company.
Yeah,
in the same place again. This is weird, but it also feels like it also feels like natural again.
Yeah,
it feels,
starting to. Yeah,
I mean, 14 months later, and it feels good.
Yeah.
Like
all
we
never
in the
missed a beat.
same. Yeah, it was almost like we kept doing episodes in a different way, but still could communicate with one.
I could talk for an hour about the differences between these two formats, though.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it, but
let's not.
It's nice to be back.
Yeah,
together.
it is.
Yeah.
Yep. And so the next couple of episodes are the last of our dubbed quarantine sessions. We specifically waited because we weren't going to do Shrek 2 and Goodfellas on the same day. That would be weird. So I mean, we are looking to get back together, and we've got good stuff to talk about and do from here. So next Wednesday, Shrek 2. Gonna go far, 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 far,
far away.
I know. I'm trying to do the pops. It's hard to do it loud.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're gonna do that. It's a good episode. I recommend people listen. I recommend people always listen.
Yeah.
so those are going to be on Wednesdays. Go to filmseizure.com. You'll find the stuff. Also on Mondays, I do Monster Mondays. This upcoming Monday is The Beast in the Cellar. A fine little movie that is surprisingly not as monstery as you might think.
I don't know that one.
It was a Severin release, but it's a...
I know the title then. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a fascinating little movie. So I liked it quite a bit, just primarily for the two old ladies that lead the movie. They're really, really good. But I'm always positive. I find more than just them to talk about. The whole thing is good. So you can find all of that stuff, not just at filmseizure.com, but you can also find it at SoundCloud, at Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Audible. We also upload our stuff to YouTube, so you can check that out there as well. And then if you like what we do, go over to Ko-fi, which is ko-fi.com/filmseizure. Buy us coffee. Shoot us a few bucks.
Has anyone bought us coffee yet?
Have coffee with us.
Don't think so.
I challenge all of you listeners to buy us each a coffee.
Yes.
And not a little one, like a venti. Is
Venti?
Yeah, venti.
Yeah, I'm gonna get tea though, or hot chocolate.
I'm going to get an Americano. Iced.
You're going to get a hot chocolate kids temp, probably.
Probably. It's summertime, man.
So you don't burn your tongue.
Yeah. I'm going to put it in the freezer. Anyway, so yeah, do that if you'd like. Also, Friday mornings at bmovieenema.com. I do articles and stuff. You may have heard of that once or twice. Check those things out. This Friday, I have many, many words to talk about Turkey Shoot.
I love that one.
It's a good movie.
Oh, you're doing that?
Yeah, I did.
That's
I did do
I love that movie.
It's good. It's good. So yeah, you can do that. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel for B Movie Enema. I have clips. I have B Movie Enema the series. You can do that sort of stuff. Do those things.
Do those things.
Do them.
So until next week, when I turn into an ogre and fart on these two guys.
How is that normal? Or not normal? Like that's just
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's just that week of the month when I do that.
All right.
It's the fourth week. It's the fourth Wednesday of every month. I turn into an ogre and fart on you guys. I don't know how you don't know that's coming every month.
I do. That's what I was saying. Like, well, how is this not new? Yeah.
Right.
How is this a new thing?
Anyway, so until then, I am Geoff Arbuckle.
I'm Chuck Moore.
I am Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.